He goes back to where that part of the wing in the book is being built, finds out that he left it because so he had to tear the entire wing down to that part, put the piece in there, rebuild the wing back up, and then move forward. And I learned right there in that instance. I told him, I said, you see what happened? And I promise you, I heard the Holy Spirit say in my ear, I don't know why you tripping. You do the same thing. And what I learned in there is when we rush the process and look for an outcome, you know what I'm saying? We miss things along the way that we need to learn that are foundational to the place and space in which we're in. And it ain't nothing worse than getting to a place and having to turn around and go back to where you were to fix. And then it's a setback.
Welcome to my podcast. I'm Manina, and you are listening to an episode of Aspire Big, Inspire Bigger podcast.
Hey, Inspirers. Welcome back to the Aspire Big, Inspire Bigger podcast. I have a new guest today. I am excited about this. Quest Green, motivational speaker and marriage and life coach. Quest, welcome to the Aspire Big, Inspire Bigger podcast.
Man, honor to be here. Honor to be here.
Yes. So today we are going to talk about marriage. Now, anybody who's been listening to my podcast knows that I am probably the most single person you know, for real. But I'm here to learn, and marriage is a goal. It's something that is close to my heart. It is a desire of my heart, for sure. So learning about it, I love to learn about marriage. I love to learn about personal development, but I love to learn about marriage too. And raising children, all those things, but marriage first to me, as for me and mine, right? So Quest, let's get this thing started. Let's help these people learn some things today.
Word up.
First, I want to ask you, how did you get into motivational speaking and life coaching?
It's funny. Life coaching, marriage coaching, I got into it because of a very good friend of mine. He's really like the older brother that I never had. We met in the mid 90s and we clicked up and been rocking ever since. He has been really, I'm always a firm believer that everybody needs like accountability partner or somebody in your life who loves you, who respects you, but is not impressed by you, who you give permission to check you when you're not doing the things you said you were going to do, or when you start acting out of character, or you know what I'm saying? And right. He indeed was one of those things. And that was my boy, Eric Thomas. He and I were friends from very early in the game. He has been instrumental in my life. He was my marriage coach. And because he was an ordained minister, he came down to Dominican Republic when it was time for us to get married and married us. I think the backstory behind that, though, is that I was married in 2003 and divorced in 2005. And 7 years went by between the time that, or 6 years, I think 6 or 7 years passed by between the time I was divorced and the time that I got married again in 2011. And now my wife and I are walking into a decade of marriage, 10 years we walking into now. Blissful at that. And I ain't saying we don't, experience the difficulties and challenges, you feel me? Right. But it's how we handle them that makes it blissful. We are a team in the truest sense of the word. I don't think that I necessarily chose being because I was in the music business at one time and I was really trying to move even from being an artist to going into other areas of the business as well, right? That's a whole nother story for another time. Right. But I think that God chose me for this and not me choosing it, but I think it chose me. In other words, God said, yep, this is where we're going with you. It has been rewarding. But the combination of God choosing this for me and E being as instrumental as he has been in my life. As a matter of fact, I'm the director for Thank God I'm Married, which is a division of Eric Thomas and Associates. So one of his departments in personal development and, next level living. So that's how I really got into this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You
Yeah.
know what? I honestly, I truly didn't know that. You and ET were connected. I'm part of David Shan's morning meetup.
My dude. That's my dude.
Yeah, cool guy, man. He's
When you see
awesome.
him
So
next time, you just tell him Quest said what's up. That's
I
my
will, I
guy.
will. I
Yeah.
will. Every morning I'm on there.
Mhm.
So I'll tell him tomorrow. Today's his birthday too. So
Oh, I'm gonna have to call him. I'm gonna have to
yeah,
call him.
yeah. So I didn't know that you was connected to Eric Thomas, which is awesome.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you a short story. I'm sure every time somebody tells you that, every time you say Eric Thomas, somebody says, "Oh, let me tell you something about him, what he did for me."
Yeah.
Right? So I'm gonna tell you for me. 2011, and I talk about it a lot on my podcast, but it's important for me to share my testimony. So 2011, I became pregnant with twins,
Mhm.
and out of wedlock, I grew up with a very traditional dad. He is Muslim, but that's still not part of his lifestyle. So uh, he wasn't having it, and he's my person. It's been me and him since I was 12, and my mother passed away. So he's my person. So he wasn't having it. I was down bad basically, and I got to 18 weeks and 6 days, which is essentially 5 months,
Wow.
and my body went into labor.
Whoa.
And I went to the hospital, and they were
So they
like, "I'm
didn't
so
induce it.
sorry."
It just naturally.
Man, my stomach was hurting a little bit. It was a little funny. I woke
Mhm.
up that morning like something is wrong with my baby. I went to work, and I went to the doctor after work, and she was like, "Yeah, it's nothing wrong." Untrue. That's a whole different story for another thing. How they treat black women
Yeah.
in the medical
Yeah. Yeah.
arena. But she was checking me. The truth was, when you're giving birth, you have something called a mucus plug, and it comes out first
Mhm.
before your body starts to continue. So she was checking me, and she was absolutely uh, holding my mucus plug in her hand. She was like, "There's nothing wrong. Just go home and rest." I went home. I woke up, and my stomach was so low. I was 5 months, but I was pregnant with twins, so I measured 7 months pregnant. I was out there, and I was like, something is wrong. I went to the hospital, and they were like, "I'm sorry, you're almost fully dilated." What? So called the doctor. Called their father. Called their father. Nowhere to be found. I was in there for 8 more hours. Uh, my body was preparing to give birth to
Mhm.
my twins. I gave birth that next morning, and he never showed up. When I
Mhm.
finally found him, he said, "It's something I can't deal with. It was too much to deal with." I said, "Oh, I wish I could have out of body and not had to deal with that too, but that must
Yep.
be nice."
Yep.
You know, so fast forwarding, it took me long, long to heal.
Mhm.
And where Eric Thomas comes in is I would go to bed. It got to a point where it just stung so much. It was
Mhm.
so much stinging, that I would before I would go to bed, I would pray and say, "God, if you love me, please don't wake me up.
Wow.
But if you wake me up, I'll try again in the morning." So in the morning, I would wake up, obviously, and I said, "Okay, well, if you say so."
Mhm.
And I would turn on Eric Thomas. Thank God it's Monday.
Mhm.
Now, everybody's favorite quote that I've heard so far is, "If you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you'll succeed." But for me, my favorite quote was, "Make the rest of your life the best of your life."
Mhm.
So that's what Eric Thomas did for me. That quote, him saying that, "Make the rest of your life the best of your life,"
Yo,
that's
all,
that
all
saved my
jokes,
life.
all jokes aside, and I'm not saying this because, like, how people say, "Oh, he got that from me." Legit,
Yeah.
legit. When, like, he got that from me, and he'll tell you where he got it from too, right?
Wow.
I was in a student at University of North Carolina. That's where I graduated from, right?
Okay.
Um, uh, Go Tar Heels, go. You know what I'm saying? 49ers, because it's the state university. I went to the Charlotte campus, right?
Okay.
Um, and while we were there, I was taking an interpersonal communications class. Here's the funny thing about that. When I was in school doing what I was doing, I thought that I was going to head in the direction of mass media. I was like, okay, if I can't be in the music business, then let me be in radio and TV, which put me in position to allow Willie Moe to be one of my boys too. You feel me? And he and I had worked together on a movie a couple years ago that it never really did, but we remained friends. When I was in the class, I was reading. Actually, I still have that book somewhere here in my books. I still have that book. And in the first chapter, there was a phrase I was reading. We used to have a men's prayer line in the morning. And I would read bits and pieces because of where we were in terms of communication and interpersonal and understanding people. And there was one part where we read through, and that was the phrase that stuck out to me the most. Make the rest of your life the best of your life. And we were on the prayer line that morning. He heard it. He was like, ooh, nothing don't pass him. Nothing don't pass that cat. You feel me? And he was like, ooh. And from then on, he started using that. And he has told me, he's like, yo, you don't remember? You the one who I got that from. So it's crazy to hear that, because what it further lets me know is that you never know what you're doing and what you're saying and how far it can go. Because now look at what it did for you in terms of that. So yeah, I just want to tell that little backstory real quick.
That's great. Well, you know what? Thank you for sharing that with him, and thank you for for that, because if for real, that's the line that did it for me. Like I said, people got the shirt, I got the T-shirt, but that make the rest of your life the best of your life. I wish that was the T-shirt that everybody got, because that was for real, for real.
Yeah.
So, man, all right. So I had to share that with you. What you said,
you don't even know what that did. I mean, praise the people who wrote the textbook. You know what I'm saying? Like, praise God for them.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have known that line. That really did get me through. I started mixed martial arts after that. Started beating people up.
I don't want
started winning first place and grappling. And I just that started Aspire Big, Inspire Bigger. It really, really did. I was able to create my channel on YouTube. I made a video about my loss, and still to this day, there are young women who are able to come to me and say, I just lost my baby, and I'm so glad that you made this video. Thank you so much.
Wow.
So what's from that? Make the rest of your life the best of your life. I'm like, if I'm going to live.
I like the place up there too, the ABIB. You feel me?
Yeah, Aspire Big, yes.
Yep,
so,
I like that.
Yeah, if I'm going to live, I got to make the rest of this better, because this ain't it. That's what it meant to me. So,
yeah, that's love.
Thank you. So, all right. Marriage. Tell me about marriage.
Well,
you talking to a single person, never been married. Tell me about it.
It ain't for suckers. Let's just, you know where we come from. If you're a sucker, you just like one who just always give up on stuff. You got a real, you stay with the whack juice. You feel me? Like, for real. And this is an institution that definitely is not for suckers. It will grow you in ways that you've never been grown. It will cut you in ways that you've never been cut. It will challenge you in ways that no other relationship will challenge you outside of your relationship with God. And it does exactly what it's supposed to do, is to refine us into better individuals. Right? Fit for the service of the King. You feel me? So that's the one thing about marriage. I would definitely advise anyone who is about to get married, thinking about getting married, you want to move to a relationship, that you find out who you are and who you are not. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because that's important in finding a mate. Sometimes we put unfair expectations on people in relationship to do things for us, right? And we don't even know if that's something that we want or don't want. We think we want it, right? But we don't really know what we want. And so it's important for us to know ourselves. But the long and short of it is, like, for real, if you're thinking about doing this, find out who you are, get pre-marital coaching before you do this thing right here. Yep.
Yeah. And be real with yourself too.
Oh, come on.
When you're getting a coach, and be real with the person who's asking the questions. And if you hear an answer that your future spouse is says, and it's like,
but that's the whole thing of authenticity.
Say the truth, like, that's not for me.
Word up. But that's the whole thing of authenticity, right? is really and truly at the end of the day is being real with yourself, but it's an honest and open interrogation of who you are and who you're not. One thing that me and my boy Preach, we love to do is watch First 48. You know, they got a crime happens and they got 48 hours to get all the information that they need in order to close the case. And you know what I'm saying? And we
Yeah.
just love watching them go through the, you know what I'm saying, the process of asking questions, people calling in stuff. And the best part of the entire show is when they get you into that interrogation room. You feel me? Because they're going to ask you question one. And then on question 18, they're going to ask you the question they asked you on question one in a different way. And they're going to find out if the answers are different. They may ask that same question twisted up again on question 22. But at the end of the day, it's a thorough interrogation to find out all the facts. And sometimes we need a thorough, open, and honest interrogation of ourselves, asking all ourselves, looking in the mirror really and truly, and asking literal and figuratively, you know what I'm saying? Just asking
Right.
ourselves all those necessary questions, right? Who are you? What do you like? What do you not like? Do you realize how defensive you are when adversity comes your way? Do you realize that you are not as caring as you would like to think? Do you realize that you are not as compassionate as you like to think? Do you realize that you talk too much? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you all you feel me? All the things that you need to ask yourself and be honest, because guess what? If you realize it and it's a problem for you, imagine what it's
Right.
going to do for your spouse or other people that are moving into your space. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's
Mm,
necessary. I feel like a lot of people, that means that there's a lot of personal development that needs to be going on before you even think about marriage or linking with somebody
mhm,
to move towards marriage.
mhm.
What are some personal development tips that you might have for
Um,
a person who wants to be married one day, whether it's in their midst or not yet?
um, Personal development tips for me. One of the things that I do is I use a tool called the DISC assessment, and there's three parts to it, right? One tells you how you're wired. Um, One tells you what drives your wiring, right? And then there's a third part that gives you a whole bunch of information, but all in the efforts of finding out who you are as it relates to the situations that you live and transition through life. So when I first took the disc out, well, let me tell you how I got to the disc assessment.
Okay.
I'm a very, of course, within our um, family at ETA, we're always looking to devise new plans and curriculums on how people can develop and become better, a better you, right?
Yeah.
A number of years ago, a gentleman by the name of Chris Daniels became came into the organization, and he brought with him. Actually, he used to work with my boy Preach. He actually came in with something called the DISC assessment, right? And if you're familiar with the DISC assessment, breaks down who you are as an individual in four different areas: decisiveness, um, relationship, pace, and quality, if you will. It's the D, the I, the S, and the C. The D's are very decisive people, right? They are very results driven. They attack the problem, not people. And sometimes people can feel like they're attacking them, but they're really not. It's the problem because they're results driven. You have people
Mhm.
who, and I'm high in that area as well. I'm also high in the I, which is interactive, very enthusiastic people, very persuasive people, people who are the life of the party, that kind of person. And I lean more to my I than I do to my D. The only time
Mhm.
I lean to my D is when I'm not getting results, right?
Mm.
There's the S, who are very pace driven people. They are the glue to any organization or family, if you will, right? And then there's the C, which are very task driven people, very detailed, very organized, very structured, and they are thinkers, right? They are
Mhm.
very much thinkers. And
Yeah.
so when you find out who you are in terms of those things, it can really help you in relationship and marriage, right? Case in point, And by the way, Chris Daniels passed away about 2 years ago. So, rest in peace. But what he left with us is something that is phenomenal. I remember that I would tell my wife the dreams and goals and things that I would want to do. And she was like, oh, that's fantasy.
Mm.
I used to be like, who the she talking to? It's fantasy. Yo, we talking
That's
about
the
my dreams and goals here. You
that's the
feel
D
me?
that came out right there.
Oh, real quick, real quick. I'm like, yo, right? And so she was like, yeah, it's fantasy. But what happened was, and when we finally decided to take the assessment to find out who he was, because we were running into problems in that communication area, he came in and did the breakdown for the both of us. And what he explained to her is that your husband thinks of the big picture.
Hmm.
He thinks in terms of the grandiose side of what it can be, what it will look like, what it's going to turn out to be.
Yeah.
Um, and so you have to understand that he's going to talk and not give you all the details on how to get there. Meanwhile, he explained to me that your wife is a very detailed thinker, right? If you tell her we're going to have dinner by candlelight this evening, her mind is going to the place of how are we going to do that? The two boys need to be showered. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. Dinner needs to be cooked, all of that stuff, right? So that's how she
Yep.
thinks. So
Yeah.
he explained to me it's not that she's trying to tear your dreams down or your goals down or speak badly of them. You just didn't talk in her language, which is detail and structure. In other words, outline part A, boom, bop, 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 bop. Outline part B, section two, bop, 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 bop. Outline. So you understand how real
Yeah.
quick, if we're not talking each other's language, and here's what I found out. Two people can be speaking English and speaking two totally different languages.
Absolutely.
You feel me? And so when I
Right.
found out, when I'm talking to her now, and it was revolutionary for our relationship, because I found out that when I'm talking to her now, I got to talk to her with as much detail as a natural eye can talk to her, right?
Yeah.
And she has to talk with less detail because if she talked to me with all that detail, after a while, I'm like,
Like, whoop.
I glass over. You feel me? So she
Right.
knows when that's happening because she watches and she's like, okay, let me cut this short because he's not going to hear no more after this. He just here out of courtesy now. You feel me?
Right.
And so that in and of itself, and you can think of a plethora of other situations where the two of us are seeing things differently, and it's not that we just not talking in each other's languages. You
Hmm.
feel me? And so, with that being said, that was the thing that we found out. That was the thing that helped us navigate through it. So, that is one of the tools that I use, right? Anytime I'm dealing with any premarital coaching sessions, if I'm dealing with any marital coaching sessions, right? The first thing I do is I send them, yep, I need the two of y'all to take this assessment real quick. It takes them about
Oh.
10 minutes. Yep.
Yeah.
And that gives me information changes situations. When I give them that, it gives me intel on who they are as an individual, how they're wired, and when adversities, because not only does it do that, it's a 22 or 23 page summary. So you could just imagine all the information. It tells you how you communicate with one another, right? What things you need to be saying when you're communicating with other, but also what things you just want to stay away from. Like if you take it, it'll let me know, okay, these are the things that you want to say to Mo. These things right
Hmm.
here, you just want to stay completely away from, right?
Right.
Then it tells us areas for better improvement. It tells me who you are when you're operating as yourself. And then it also tells me who you are when you're adapting to a situation. In other
Right.
words, you're not naturally yourself in this situation. You're thinking a whole lot more. You're processing a little bit more information. And it also further lets me know that when you stay in that place for too long, then you become stressed out and less effective. So how do we need to, maneuver around that such that when you are in that place, right, doing for what you need to do, how do we put a structure to handle that so you don't necessarily have to deal with that all the time or earn the right to hire somebody to deal with that? You feel me?
Right.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, those are that. If there was, I don't know if there's necessary tools. There's another assessment that I can use specifically for premarital. It's called Symbis, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. So that's another tool that I use as well. But those would be the two tools that I necessarily use because it gives me information on who the two of you are as individuals and how to work through that thing.
Okay. I took my DIS assessment. I'm definitely uh, 28D, 53I, 88 S and C.
Oh,
And when how but here's the thing, the C, it stays the same
yeah.
whether I'm good or not.
Yep.
I'm always like,
The
nah,
color,
let's
when you look at the assessment, those colored bars tell you who you are naturally. It's the
mm-hmm.
gray bars that you watch. If they drop from where you are naturally for more, if they go up or down more than 15 points, then that might be an area you want to start looking at as to why. Because what it tells is that something happens, a shift happens when a particular situation you're confronted with, and it causes you to adapt. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. All of them go down except for the C. That it
to see.
stays
Hmm.
exactly the same. But I mean, it makes sense
Yeah.
because when I'm
If your
going through a
C
lot
is
of
at a
stuff, I'm
number,
processing.
what's the number of your C?
88.
Eight. Oh, so you are a thinker. You
Mm-hmm.
process. And matter of
That's
fact, you hold the information gate open just in case any new information might come in for you to change the way that you think. It take you a long time to pull the trigger because you processing. Yup. Oh
mm-hmm.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You my wife. My wife is
Yeah. When
yeah.
I do it because I know it. And
Oh,
if somebody tells me like, nah, I don't think you should, like, I didn't ask you that. I'm already
yup,
doing it. It means I meant it.
yup.
you know.
And that's
But
another
before
thing too.
that,
When y'all get facts, y'all turn real D-ish. You get real
yeah,
rebellious. Like, don't
yeah,
tell
get
me
real
nothing. I
bad.
got all the facts already. The worst thing you want to hear a C is say to you is, let me find out. Because they
Yeah.
gonna go and literally do the research and come back and be like, Nia, nah, dude, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. You feel me? Yeah.
Yeah. For
Yeah. So
sure.
that's
For
dope.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, and you know what? Everybody, not everybody, but so many people were like, "Ah, I thought I would be a higher D." I
Mm-hmm.
already knew when I saw 28, I was like, sounds about right. sounds about right.
Yeah.
But being a high D doesn't make you more effective. It just is a different, type of person, a different way of processing your
Absolutely.
life.
And here's the funny
Huh.
thing about that too. There are a lot of people who may be high C's but get challenged all the time. And so you're if you got the facts, right, you're gonna stick to the facts. I don't know what you're talking about, but these are the facts. And when you have facts, when you guys have facts, you turn into D's. So just
Yeah.
being challenged can cause you to think that you are a D because you have to be decisive in letting people know that, yo, what you're talking is crazy. This is the
Right.
facts right here. So it can make you think that you're a D when in all actuality, you're very detailed. You did all the research. You're very structured in everything that you do. You're a lie because on December 3rd at 3:52 in the PM, right, I did such and such. I spoke to such and such, and these are the facts of the situation. And
Right.
that can make you feel like a D. Yeah, because you're being
Yeah.
challenged as a C. So yeah,
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 and then it'll make other people feel uncomfortable. Like, wait a minute, just 5 minutes ago you was ready to take any advice I gave you. Now you like, no.
yeah. Well, I don't need it now because I got the facts. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
Straight up.
That's good. It's good. That just goes to show that personal development is really important,
Important.
and it's important in your single life for sure. There's certain things that I knew about myself before I took my disc assessment that the disc assessment just proved. I'm a C. High C. It proved that I knew what I was doing. I
That's
knew what
it.
I was thinking about myself,
Mhm.
and it helped me um, alternate my thinking to because processing takes a lot of energy from me, but I cannot go through a day without processing everything in everything.
Mhm.
Um, if somebody says something, I have to process what did they mean? Did they mean hurt or did they mean help? I
Mhm.
have to process that in every sentence. I have to process before I speak because I don't want anybody to misinterpret me. So it takes a lot of energy, but that's something I know about myself that's important. So once my husband comes to me, once we come together, I'm gonna know that about myself. I'm gonna be able to say, I'm gonna overprocess things. When we having conversations, I'm be thinking about what you said in the last sentence. I'm gonna hear what you said in the next one because I gotta process that next.
Here's what's so dope about y'all too. And I don't know if it's dope or if it's just, what I'm saying, that I know it's my demise sometimes. The way that
Mhm.
women think and process information, and then to be a C takes it even a step further. Women already can remember things because they attach each situation to an emotion, and then it's burned on the surface of their brains forever. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
then women will bring up stuff to you. Remember on such and such when you did such and such? You like,
No.
I did what? I ain't do that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Such and such happened. Why? Because they can. Y'all got to have an uncanny ability to attach an emotion to that thing or a
Absolutely.
feeling, and then you burn it on the surface of your brain, and then boom, they could pull it up randomly at any time. And then to be a
Absolutely.
C on top of that, oh
Not easy.
yeah, you
I
next
pray
level.
for him. Yeah,
Yeah.
you pray for him, whoever he may be. I'm praying
Let
for
me
him
pray for
now.
his
I'm telling you.
covering. You feel me? Like,
Yes,
don't jack
please.
up, bro. She gonna remember
No.
everything.
For the rest of your life, good buddy. And I'm gonna try not to hold against you, but I'm gonna
Word.
remember it. I don't know how else to live. And there was something too that's so important to me. I was talking to another guest I had, and they brought up the book The Alchemist, and they were like, "Oh, what is your favorite part? What's your favorite quote from The Alchemist?" And I was like, "Listen, let me explain something to you. I don't remember things like that.
Yeah.
I remember how it made me feel.
Yep.
So I remember when he met the girl,
Yeah.
and the girl told him, 'Go ahead, do what you have to do. If it's real, we'll be back together.' I remember that.
Yep.
That's what I remember from that book."
Yep.
And he was like, "Okay, well, I remember this quote, this quote, this." I was like, "That's good. That's cool. That's good to learn. I'll write it down."
Yep.
But I remember how it makes me feel. So that's an important thing to me for development wise, to read, to learn,
Mhm.
not just to feel,
Y'all, come on.
you know?
Come on.
So that's important to me too. So it's all important. Like I said, the personal development, and
Mhm.
like you're saying, the personal development is key.
Mhm.
If you're a single person looking to be married,
Mhm.
that's going to make life a lot
Major.
easier.
Major.
A lot
Major.
easier.
Yep.
Man, I appreciate that information for sure, for sure.
Word up.
Um, all right. So
Mhm.
we coming to the bottom of the podcast,
Yeah.
and I have something I call the Introvert Corner. As a high S and a high C, you know I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
Know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
um, I was I was quite surprised that my eye was a 53. Actually, I was like 53.
So, so,
Stranger
so
danger. I'm not that person.
once again, my wife is the same way. You guys can do it, but it's a limited time for how you can do it. In the pit. Other
Absolutely.
than that, it'll drain you. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I run out. The minutes is gonna run out. Singular. Remember, remember
Word
when we
up.
had service?
Yep.
Nights and
Weekend
weekends.
minutes.
That's it.
Yep. That's it.
Nights and weekends. Call me on nights and weekends. Let me minutes ran out
Mhm.
today.
Word up.
so so I have something called the Introvert Corner, and the Introvert Corner is a space that I hold on my podcast for fellow introverts like me who want to learn something, but they know they're not going to do that in their own life, and that's okay. We'll have to do everything. So extroverts, and you're an extrovert for sure. I've had some introverts that are like, "I'm an introvert too." I'm like, "Well, we're gonna learn from you still."
Mhm.
You're gonna go do something like climb the mountain. I'll hold your bag at the bottom.
Yep.
I'll make I'll have the water. I'll make some food. When you come back down, you won't be hungry. You'll have a jacket to warm back up, but I'm not climbing that mountain.
Yep.
But I am going to ask you how you felt. I am going to ask you what you experienced, what you saw. So
Mhm.
that's what this part of my podcast is, Introvert Corner. So it's 3 introspective questions,
Mhm.
randomly picked, and you answer them as you would. And I'm hopeful that I'll learn something about them, and the people listening will learn something about them. All right.
Mhm.
So you ready?
Mhm. Let's go.
All right. Number 1. How do those around you contribute to your life?
How do those around me contribute to my life? Um, my kids contribute to my life on a daily basis because they are a constant source of driving me up the wall, if that's a thing. But it's crazy because they also teach me lessons. Um, I'm
Mm-hmm.
in a season of my life where I find revelation in everything. The biggest lesson that my son taught me was don't rush the process, trust the process.
Oh.
And he didn't know, of course, that he was teaching me the lesson, but because, of course, I'm finding revelation and everything. And I'll give you a quick example. He was building a Lego set recently, He's into this Mandalorian thing now with Star Wars. So he likes Baby Yoda. You know what I'm saying? He likes the Mandalorian. And so there was one of the ships, the Star Wars ships, and we bought him a Lego set. My man immediately jumps into this thing, there's 4 bags of like tons of pieces in these 4 bags. And it has a book. Long story short, he starts tearing the bags open. And luckily I caught him before he mixed up everything. So I separated bag 1 and 2, which he had already opened up and dumped. And then I showed him the book. He was like, Daddy, can you do it with me? No worries. Let's get it. So I'm telling him that, like, when you look at each page, it says that you need 3 of these, 2 of these, 1 of these, right? And so when you build the pieces, it don't look like much, but it's foundational to what's about to come later on as you build the ship. So he, of course, gets impulsive because he's just like me, right? Don't worry, Daddy, I got it. And so he builds out the wing. He gets ahead, and there's a laser that's supposed to be attached to a little piece, right? But that piece isn't there for him to attach it to. Meanwhile, I have been telling him, be careful and follow every page to the T. Don't rush this thing. Take your time and get it done. Well, long story short, he finds out that the clip is not there. He goes back to where that part of the wing in the book is being built, finds out that he left it because so he had to tear the entire wing down to that part, put the piece in there, rebuild the wing back up, and then move forward. And I learned right there in that instance. I told him, I said, you see what happened? And I promise you, I heard the Holy Spirit say in my ear, I don't know why you tripping. You do the same thing. And what I learned in there is when we rush the process and look for an outcome, you know what I'm saying? We miss things along the way that we need to learn that are foundational to the place and space in which we're in. And it ain't nothing worse than getting to a place and having to turn around and go back to where you were to fix. And then it's a setback. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that my kids do to me. My wife is always a supportive person. She is really the driving. They are the why as to why I do what I do. So those are some of the ways, just a couple of the ways that they contribute. Friends that I talk to, like Preach and I talk to on a regular basis, just to pretty much, E is my brother who's always poured into me. Anytime I'll just call him. Even when I'm going through, people think that because I'm a marriage coach that I don't go through difficulties and challenges myself. And sometimes who encourages the encourager when the encourager needs encouraging? You feel me? So I pick up the phone and I call him and Dee, and they walk me in faith through a number of different, you know what I'm saying? So those are the ways that friends and family really contribute to me and my life in this season.
That's awesome. Who do those around contribute to my life? How? My dad. My dad is that elder who I can always trust what he says. And he says something that's so important to me, and it leads me. He said, you know, it's all about tribe there. It's not about, you know, what color you are, what this or that. It's all about tribe and your people and what they did. Say, you know your people from your tribe, and our tribe did this. And you live and die by your name. Live and die by that. You have to know who you are. And it's the same thing as us saying here, you know, stand for something or fall for everything. It's just the way my dad says it. You know, your name is embodied. You live and die by that name. Your first name means mother of all mankind.
Yeah.
You know, it's a derivative of Eve. It's mother of all mankind. You live and die by that name.
Yeah.
So that's how he contributes to my life, and who's around me, especially in quarantine. It's only me. You know, if I'm talking to somebody, I'm recording or I'm calling my dad. Hey, Dad, what you doing? Right. You know. All right. So number 2.
Yeah.
How do you define your value?
How do I define my value? I really and truly allow God to define my value. If God is pleased at the end of the day with the work that I've done or what he has commanded of me to do, then I know it's of value, because really his plan is really the ultimate plan. So if I've done what I needed to do according to his plan, then I know I've done something of value. If people's lives, my mind always goes to Peter when they are, you know, he's in the presence of Christ, and he asked him, Christ asked him, Peter, dost thou love me? And Peter said, yes, Lord, I love you. And then not even a minute later, he asked him again, like, Peter, dost thou love me? And he was like, yay, Lord, I love you. Like, and then the third time he asked him, he was like, why are you asking me these questions? You know that I love you. He said, you know that I do. And his response was, then feed my sheep. And that was a clear indication that no matter what we do on this earth, we should live such that people are being fed. And not necessarily with physical food, but sometimes with spiritual food. And so if I've done and served the way that he has called me to do and to serve, then it's of value.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. I would say the same thing. That defines my value. God, what He told me I am. In
Yeah.
that time, like I told you earlier,
Right.
when I was going through, He led me to Proverbs. He led me to the wife of noble character, and I said, "Oh, this is what a woman is."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I value myself by what God tells me I
Mhm.
am. For sure.
Word.
Sure. Okay, the last question.
Let's get it.
Right. What would you like to be known for?
Um, I would like to be known as one who was a servant of God and a friend to man.
Serving a God and a friend to many.
Pretty much in a nutshell. And one who loved his family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Um, for me, healing. I would
Mm.
like to be known for being an advocate for healing, for sure. My mom was sick for a lot of years, and it was second nature to me. I don't know how. 11 years old, and she stopped being able to walk without help. And I remember she got on the side of the bed, and she was like, she's about to not be able to turn, over on her own. She was like, call your dad, call your dad. And my
Mm.
mom had gotten so big from water retention.
Mm.
So she was like, do not even, because she saw me coming in. I just picked her right on up. Boop,
Mm.
11 years old. And she was like, what? But that's just, is in me. My father was sick early this year. It was
Mhm.
in me. I stayed where he was, and I slept close to where he was, and he would wake up in the middle of the night. I'm like, you all right? He's like, how do you know I'm waking up?
Mhm.
So that's in me. So I want to be known for healing, being an advocate for healing for sure.
Word. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
man. Well, I really, really thank you for coming on my
And I appreciate
podcast, man.
I appreciate you.
Man,
I appreciate you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Let people know where they can find you.
You can find me in other different places. Facebook, you can find me at Quest Green, QUEST GREEN, like the color. On YouTube, we got tons of marriage videos on YouTube at Quest Green. Please do go by and subscribe to those videos, or share with people that you know are in marriage who could definitely use the information. Um, you can stop by my website, jquestgreen.com. You can find me on Instagram at quest_green. At Twitter at Quest Green. I think IG is the only different one because it's got the underscore in there and it's different, but everything else at Quest Green. And I'm on all those platforms. We got a podcast, me and my boy L. David Harris, on iTunes called Marriage Ain't for Suckers. We've kind of taken a break because he lives in Jamaica and he's gotten a really fulfilling job. And so my wife may be taking over his spot, not maybe, will be taking over his spot. And
That's
so we're about
cool.
to start turning the episodes back up again. But for 3 years straight, we've got 3 years worth of episodes
Oh,
on marriage on iTunes called Marriage Ain't for Suckers. That's why we got the, what I'm saying? And of course we got merch too,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So you see the joints on here.
Love
Um,
it.
so just stop by the website and go to the menu and go to the shop and you'll find everything in there. So yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I put all your links wherever my podcast is, so that's YouTube, iTunes, all the places,
Oh man,
and make sure everybody knows where to find you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Man,
Yeah,
it's a
man.
pleasure being here, man. Word up.
Yes. So y'all remember to aspire big so that you can inspire bigger.
Word.
Remember to work on yourself. Personal development, personal development, personal development. If you're looking to take a disc assessment, reach out. You are a for sure coach for disc assessment. Just
Mm-hmm.
man, look it up. Make sure you look him up and get yourself assessed. Is it is a pivotal moment in how you're going to process the rest of your life and make the
Information
rest of your
applied.
life the best of your life.
Word up. Word up. You feel me? There you go. Yeah, man.
Right.
Information applied changes situations. So yeah, for real.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, y'all. Later, y'all.